Young Republicans racist group chat exposed by Misha Petrov. Apparently, she's angry about this and she thinks that we should condemn the group chat and that this is a bad thing. And I think she is wrong. So let's take a look.
I want to talk about the Young Republican National Federation.
Vile leaked chat messages show leaders of young Republican groups allegedly called black people monkeys, gushed about their love of Hitler, and spoke graphically of raping their enemies and driving them to suicide. Were reportedly made by young Republican leaders via Telegram over the course of several months. According to the messages, Kansas Young Republicans Vice Chair William Hendricks, who is white, used variations of the N-word. Then Chair of New York's Young Republicans, Peter
so
Junta,
bad.
said everyone who didn't vote for him to become chair of the group's National Federation would be going to the gas chamber. Junta also reportedly said, "I love Hitler." He also branded an opponent from Maryland a fat, stinky Jew and called Arkansas Young Republicans inbred cow whether he was watching an NBA playoff game. "I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball," Junta responded.
Consists of members aged 18 to 40. This is important because already they're saying, wait, these are just kids. Boys will be boys. These are adults. According to the group's website, the organization
So adults can't make jokes, according to this woman.
aims to recruit young voices to the GOP before training them and encouraging them to run for office. These weren't just edgy teens or some random, basement dwelling trolls, which those have existed. They'll always
So only basement dwelling trolls can make jokes, according to her.
exist, and to that I say let kids play with the other kids, but adults speak with other adults in the room, so you have to be professional. Yes, dark humor exists, but context matters, especially
Yes, that's why this was a private group chat and not in public group chat.
in your position right at a time when people are already
It was leaked by some idiot.
stereotyping Republicans as racist. They're all homophobic, they're all sexist, they're all whatever, and extreme. And they have issued a statement. "We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the political article published today." So others are arguing that such individuals were youth leaders, not elected public officials, though Douglas in Vermont is an active state senator. Yeah, so again, these are people wearing suits, waving the American flag, claiming publicly we're not.
So in order to not hate the country, in order to not hate the country, you can never make jokes at all whatsoever. That's what she's basically saying. So if you wave the American flag, you can no longer make edgy jokes.
Not like who they say we are. This is not a good look. Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real
That's why it's a private group chat. People is not supposed to be in their business.
issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. These are not children, Vance said, but the reality is that kids do stupid things. Okay, so we should call
The average age is like in their 20s. So yeah, not kids, but it's like
out those stupid
the
things.
age shouldn't matter anyway because like it's free speech. This is America. You can say whatever you want at any age.
Should we not? When it's from the left and when it's from the right. Especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. That's not the problem. How they're doing it, where they're doing it, what kind of group chat they're doing it in. This is not how you want to represent this organization. Hi, what? This is common sense. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where kids telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive, stupid joke is caused to ruin their lives. Okay, so then every leftist who's making fun of Charlie Kirk's murder, is that just a stupid joke? Or should
The fact that she's trying to correlate, people celebrating and advocating for the murder of people like Charlie Kirk, these moderate Republicans, average conservatives, basic normie, conservative right-wingers. The fact that she's comparing that to racist jokes about, black people in basketball and watermelon, it's not even close to being the same thing. And these are like I said, these are like nobody Republicans. These are not prominent figures like how Charlie Kirk is a prominent right-wing figure.
we also call it out? Now, does that mean they should be thrown into prison? No. Should they be canceled forever, never allowed to change, to grow, to apologize?
Like nobody celebrates the death of like one of the top left one of the top Democrats.
Of course not. I don't believe in cancel culture, but they should be held
Or
accountable.
even nobody
Here's the thing,
Democrats,
if you
for that
want to
matter.
be taken seriously as a leader, you have to act like it. This happens on both sides. We can take a look at Jay Jones, who was a Democrat from Virginia. He had this very wholesome image, and then someone pulls up his past texts where he says that he hopes Republicans' children get killed, not their careers, not their
And it's not, the difference between that is that he's actually a prominent Democrat and he was not joking.
policies, their
Because he doubled down and said, yes, I mean this.
kids. So that is obviously not political commentary. That's just straight up bloodlust. In exchanges, Jones appears to call for violence against then Virginia House of Delegates Speaker Todd Gilbert, his wife Jennifer, and their children. If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Jay, please stop. LOL, okay.
This is just the unhinged rant. This isn't even jokes. Like, he genuinely believes this stuff. He genuinely believes that right-wingers are Nazis. This is how most of the left thinks, too. So this isn't just a fringe ideal. So the fact that she's trying to correlate this and compare it, it's just not even close to being the same thing. And she's supposed to be conservative, so I really don't know like why she's like even trying to act as if this is, you know, something that Republicans or right wingers should be doing. It's not.
If we're actually going to fight racism, bigotry, we don't get to pick and choose when to.
Who is trying to do that? Nobody. Only the left. Only the left claims to do that. They're not doing that, but that's what they're claiming. So unless you want to do that, I mean, you can just join the left. I mean, go ahead. No, no love lost. Like, Republicans are supposed to. Aren't Republicans supposed to be the party of free speech? Technically, making jokes, racist jokes about black people and Jews, technically, that's free speech. You may not like it. They're not advocating for the death of any particular politician. They're just making these cheesy. You may not think it's funny, but they have the right to make these cheesy jokes.
Care, right? Only when it's convenient. No, this is the horseshoe effect in action, right? The far left and the far right, they are more alike than they'd ever admit. Same inability to take a breath and use logic. But also when you keep overusing words like racism, like sexism, like anti-Semitism, like homophobia, you take attention away from real cases of that. We have to be able to call it out no matter where it comes from. I know that may sound really hard for some people. If we want to have any shot at actually reducing hatred and division, then we have to be.
All right, enough of this, enough. But I think this is a perfect representation. I think Misha is a perfect personification of, you know, the ideal of women just can't be part of the conservative movement because they are just too, even the conservative ones are just too, they're too soft. Misha is soft. She, allowing women into the conservative movement muddies the waters because they just don't have what it takes to be right wing. They are inherently liberal. So even the right leaning women, they just aren't right wing enough to get it. They're always going to side with the left when convenient, and that's exactly what Misha is doing right here. Like, and it's not even convenient. This is not helping the conservative movement. It's not helping Misha. Like the left would literally kill Misha if they had the chance, and they would celebrate it. They would all celebrate. So I don't even know why she's trying to play both sides here. This is exactly why she should not even be political. She should just get off the internet and just go about your daily life. Like, you're not built for politics. You're too soft.
Consistent. We cannot fight bigotry with more bigotry. And that's all for today's video, guys. You let me know what you think in the comments below.
Just
also, like, share, subscribe.
Terrible take, horrible take. And I'm going to transition to someone with a more reasonable take on this issue. Here is Matt Walsh, a more reasonable man with a more reasonable take on this issue.
Last few months, conservatives have seen tens of thousands of Democrats openly celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk, just as they celebrated the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, and just as they celebrated the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We've seen Antifa mobs surrounding ICE vehicles and assaulting officers, only for Democrats to order the local police to stand down. We've seen Democrats vandalize dozens of cars because of Elon Musk, only to suffer no criminal consequences whatsoever in states like Minnesota. We've seen Democrat politicians react to transgender mass shootings at Christian churches by defending the so-called trans community rather than the Christians who are being slaughtered. We've also seen the entire Democrat Party rally around their nominee for Attorney General of Virginia, Jay Jones, after he openly fantasized about the murder of children, specifically the children of his political opponents. To this day, not a single prominent Democrat has called on Jay Jones to drop out of the race. Not a single one. In fact, the Democrat candidate for governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, grinned like a sociopath when she was asked about Jay Jones during a recent debate. There are two conclusions that we can draw from all this. First, Democrats are the party of political violence. They commit political violence all the time. They celebrate it.
Exactly. You know, making jokes, making violent jokes versus actually, like, harming people. It's actually quite a different thing, actually.
We know that. And secondly, Democrats stick together. When Democrats are caught on camera attacking federal officers or talking about killing children in text messages, the leadership of the Democrat Party doesn't issue any kind of condemnation. They don't call for anyone to lose their job. Instead, if they decide to say anything at all, Democrats will blame their victims. After all, their victims are fascists and Nazis. They deserve what they get in the eyes of the left. In a political environment like this, if you can even call it a political environment, the only way for an opposing party to survive is to understand the situation that we're in and the rules that the left is playing by. Now, that's not to say that we should endorse political violence or celebrate violence. Obviously, we don't do that under any circumstance. But at the same time, we need to adopt a kind of wartime footing. okay? Because this is a culture war. We have to avoid unnecessary infighting. You know, we can't place a premium on decorum or civility right now. We don't have the luxury for that. We have to start acting like a movement that is going to be slaughtered in the literal sense if we don't recognize the nature of our enemy and unite in an effort to defeat them. Because that's exactly the position that we're in. What we saw yesterday reveals that a lot of powerful conservatives, even after everything we've seen this year, are still somehow blind to this reality. In response to a hit piece published in the Virginia-based newsletter known as Politico, several conservatives lost their jobs or were condemned by various GOP organizations, including the Young Republicans, which bills itself as the oldest youth-focused political organization in the United States. They're supposedly key to the Republican Party's outreach to young people, which is obviously a critically important objective. And they just completely caved right away. Now, I'm not going to quote extensively from the Politico hit piece or use any of the conservatives' names that are mentioned in it. Instead, I'll show you the precise moment that everybody on the right, from the party's leaders on down, should have just stopped taking this article seriously. And here it is. It's the headline, okay? And the headline reads this, quote, "I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chats." Well, this is the point where, you can close the browser window. End of discussion. When these people say there's a racist chat, they have nothing. There's nothing for us to take seriously. They define all conservative speech, every bit of it, as racist. And that means that the accusation coming from the left has no meaning. They have lost the right to be taken seriously when they use that term. That's the stance we should take. If you're on the left, you have lost the right to ever be taken seriously when you call something racist. That word coming from you is gibberish. Does that mean racism doesn't exist? Does that mean that there is no possible objective definition of the term? No. You have lost the right to be taken seriously. After decades of the left calling anything conservatives say racist, the very least we should be doing as conservatives is the moment they open their mouths and say, well, that was racist, we tune out. Oh, but don't you want to hear the racist? No, I don't care. Don't care. You have lost the right to be taken. You haven't lost the right to say it. You can say it. You have lost the right to be taken seriously when you say it. Throwing that word around like confetti for 30 years tends to have that effect. So that's what the response from the right should have been. That's what the response from conservatives should have been. Oh, you found something you think is racist? I don't care. I don't care because you're the one saying it. I don't care. Don't care. If they're not talking about especially a named political figure, and if they're just going after nameless young Republicans, then that's all the more reason why you could just ignore this and save yourself the time. And indeed, if you continue reading for some reason, you'll discover that this article is worse than useless. It's about a bunch of college students and recent college graduates in a private group chat making edgy comments and dumb jokes. There's a grand total of one guy who's mentioned in this article who works in the Trump administration. And he didn't make a single comment that Politico quoted. So they're faulting him for, reading some random kid say, I love Hitler. Actually, they're not even doing that because they don't even know that he read any of these messages. I mean, any of us who have experience with being in group chats, you could have a group chat that's going for years and you never even look at it. The idea that you're even aware of every single thing that's in the group chat is ridiculous. Here's the claim that Politico makes in the article, quote, "At least one person in the Telegram chat works in the Trump administration. He serves as a senior advisor in the Office of General Counsel within the U.S. Small Business Administration. He did not have much to say in the chat, but he didn't offer any pushback against the offensive rhetoric in it either. He declined to comment."
Bro, why? Why would he add pushback?
Oh, he didn't send any messages in.
These people, I guess these people just don't have friends, and so they just don't know how group chats work.
In the group chat saying, "Say, fellas, this is inappropriate. Hey, fellas, hey, come on, guys." He didn't do that, and so he's guilty. This is the purest possible form of guilt by association. If you're a member of a massive group chat, then according to Politico, you're responsible for everything they say across tens of thousands of pages of messages over a period of 7 months. You need to know every single thing that was said. And if there's...
It's like what happened to the Belgian politician. They arrested him for being in a racist group chat.
Anything in it that was inappropriate, you need to speak up right there in the group chat and denounce it. And of course, within seconds, this became a Democrat Party talking point. Here's Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, quote, "This is some vile stuff, and these aren't teenagers. Many are Republican staffers. At least one works for Trump." Yes, the guy who works for Trump, who didn't say anything quoted.
Okay, but the difference between a teenager and someone in their mid-20s is come on.
In the article is now being smeared as a racist who loves Hitler. That's how this works. And by the way, buried around 50 paragraphs down in Politico's article, you'll find this line, quote, "Many of the slurs, epithets, and violent language used in the chat often appear to be intended as jokes." Yes, jokes. Which is, by the way, remember Jay Jones was not joking. And he was clear that he wasn't joking. He was very serious. He wants his political opponents to die. He actually wants them to die, to be shot. He'd be happy to do it himself. And he was very clear that he is not joking. Now, here's one example of these jokes, these actual jokes, as reported by Politico. Someone in the Michigan Young Republicans says that he had some back and forth with a vice chair in Michigan who told him that the current chair of the organization isn't working out. But on the bright side, he says, "My delegates will vote for the most right-wing person." So they're excited about replacing the chair with someone who's very right-wing. And then somebody replies, "Great, I love Hitler." And in response, somebody replies with a laughing emoji. Pretty good indication, by the way, when you see the laughing emoji that it's a joke. But this is what
just imagine being offended by that, though. It's like, it's the most milquetoast joke imaginable.
Go put in the headline of the article.
Oh my gosh.
They made it seem like there was some serious discussion among young Republicans about how great Hitler is. But then when you read the context, they're obviously joking, using an extreme example for effect. It's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm really right wing. I love Hitler." It's like that. It's clearly a sarcastic joke, very much in the vein of the kinds of sarcastic jokes that right wingers make all the time. It's a bit like somebody going to use a porta potty or something and coming back out and announcing to his friends that he really dropped an atom bomb in there. No one who hears that is going to think, "Well, my God, this guy endorses the use of atom bombs within the borders of the United States. This is violent rhetoric." But if you take the remark out of context and blast it in a headline in Politico, then you're probably going to convince a lot of people that this person is a domestic terrorist who's planting dirty bombs in public toilets. That's why, in general, it's a bad idea to take private jokes between small numbers of people, and many of whom are not public figures at all, and not relevant publicly at all, and then publish them in a news article. Now, as you read on in the Politico hit piece, which really there's no reason to, you get paragraphs like this, quote, "The private rhetoric isn't happening in a vacuum. It comes amid a widespread coarsening of the broader political discourse and as incendiary and racially offensive tropes from the right become increasingly common in public debate. Last month, Trump posted an artificial intelligence-generated video that showed House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero beside Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, whose fabricated remarks were about trading free healthcare for immigrant votes, a false, long-running GOP trope. The sombrero meme has been widely used to mock Democrats as the government shutdown wears on." Okay, so that's the official...
So I guess making jokes is only a right-wing phenomena. In order to be not racist, in order to be not racist, you have to be unfunny.
Position of political...
Or just not understand jokes.
And if you're a conservative who has taken this article at face value and spread it around and amplified it and issued your denunciations, this is what you're going along with. This is what you're amplifying. You're amplifying the whole thing. Congratulations. Politico, they're upset about the sombrero meme, which was objectively was hilarious. They say it's false that Democrats are offering handouts to attract votes from foreigners, even though it's clearly true. In fact, it's their entire platform. So this is the news outlet that we're supposed to take seriously, and incredibly, some Republicans are taking it seriously. According to the article, quote, "Since Politico began making inquiries, one member of the group chat is no longer employed at their job, and another's job offer was rescinded. Prominent New York Republicans, including Representative Elise Stefanik..."
When have Democrats ever gotten fired for not only making jokes, but actually being serious about harming somebody? Like the guy running in Virginia, he didn't step down, and nobody took away their endorsement from him. So what does that tell you?
And State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort have denounced the chat.
You gotta, Republicans, people on the right, you just gotta take your own side. You just can't turn your back and backstab people just for political gain or to appease the left, who will never love you anyway.
So has Ed Cox, the chair of the New York State GOP, along with the North Carolina Federation of Young Republicans, the Republican Party of Arizona, the Missouri GOP, the Kansas GOP, and many, many others. All of them lining up to say, I denounce this. I denounce it too. Hey, I also denounce it. Who are you denouncing it for, by the way? Who is that for? Who are you doing it for?
Misha Petrov.
You're doing it for the left. You're doing it for the mainstream media. You're doing it for their approval. It's the only reason you're doing it. If you have an actual problem, I don't know why this is so hard for people to grasp. If you have an actual problem with something that someone says, someone on the right says, and you're offended by it or you think it's problematic or whatever, you can reach out to them in private. Not everything has to be in public. You don't need to stand You don't need to jump on the dog pile with the left. You don't need to stand in front of the left performatively and saying, I would like everyone to know that I also think this is bad.
It's all for political gain, that's why.
Oh, good for you. Do you want a cookie? What do you want? You want a ribbon? You want...
And like I said, it doesn't even work.
They're going to give you a little pat on the head. Well, good boy. Good boy. Is that what you're looking for? All these Republican organizations have condemned the Young Republicans mentioned in the Politico hit piece and many others. Additionally, the board of directors of the National Young Republicans Group put out this statement. It says, quote, we're appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the Politico article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. Those involved.
And this is exactly why I'm not a Republican. I'm a registered independent, and I'm conservative, I'm right-wing, but I'm not a Republican because Republicans are weak.
Must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. That's from the board of directors.
It's total weakness.
All involved? Really? So what do you mean all? So everybody in the group chat? All of them should lose their jobs? Should be done? This is how quick we are? Anyone who's even like in the chat, you're ready to just throw them all to the wolves? Now this response is indistinguishable from the statements released by various Democrats in response to this story. None of whom have condemned Jay Jones for wishing death on the children of conservative parents. None of them have.
Not a joke, by the way. He was serious.
Chuck Schumer posted this statement, for example, in response to the Politico hit piece, quote, sickening, revolting, vile. This makes you want to throw up. This is the kind of garbage that the worst kinds of people say when they think nobody is watching. And where are Republican leaders from Trump on down condemning these comments swiftly and unequivocally? I'm waiting to hear it. I mean, you almost have to stand in awe and admire the sheer gall of a statement like this. He's stating in no uncertain terms that Democrats can wish death on their political opponents, but conservative college students can't make offensive jokes in a private group chat. That's when he's sickened. Okay, this scumbag, this son of a, had nothing to say when you got the future attorney general of the state of Virginia is saying that his political opponent should be shot in the head and killed along with their children. Was Chuck Schumer sickened? Was he sickened by that? Did he want to throw up? No. When you had thousands of leftists, thousands of them, for weeks, celebrating the fact that one of the most prominent conservatives in the country was shot in the throat and killed on camera, and wishing for the same fate to befall other conservatives, was Chuck Schumer sickened? Was he sickened by that? Did he want to throw up? Did his tummy hurt? No. Nothing to say about it. Nothing at all. And yet some random jokes in a private group chat that nobody even saw, except for the people in it, between people who are not even relevant.
Exactly.
Making comments, most of which are clearly jokes. That all of a sudden is, well, this is, oh, I can't believe, I'm tossing and turning at night. I'm having nightmares. Now, if you're on the right, you do not join in to this performative nonsense. Okay, these scumbags, these dishonest scumbags with no honor and no integrity, you don't join with them. You don't stand next to them and say, yes, I agree. I agree with you on this. I'm not like them. You don't do that. But this is the position of the entire Democrat Party. And until that changes, I don't want to hear a single word from any Republican about how horrible these Telegram messages supposedly were. You know, it's not even worth saying, well, you know, it's inappropriate, it's really bad, but boys will be boys.
It was not that bad.
I don't even say that. Don't even qualify it, okay? Don't even qualify it by saying, well, I certainly am opposed to it. I think it's bad, but the Democrats are worse. That's giving these people far too much credit. Democrats have so degraded our civic discourse and our civic life to the point that Republican events now have to be held indoors with metal detectors at every campus because there's a legitimate risk of a Democrat sniper on the roof. Okay? These people are the reason I have to have 24-hour security at my house to protect my children. And you think these people are actually concerned about jokes in a group chat? I have to condemn jokes in a group chat for their sake? Like we're pretending that that has any relevance at all? That it even matters in the slightest bit in the face of everything that we're seeing? No, they aren't actually concerned about any of these jokes in the group chat. No one actually cares. They simply want to use every available method to destroy us. And they're especially interested in destroying youth outreach organizations. That's why they killed Charlie Kirk, celebrated his assassination. They understood the threat posed by Turning Point, and they understand the threat posed by this Young Republicans group as well. Democrats have realized they have a real problem with support among young people. They've managed to destroy one of their most reliable demographics through their sheer insanity. And rather than address that problem by changing their policies, they decided to start dismantling youth-focused conservative groups with acts of terrorism if necessary. That's how the left intends on taking back the youth vote, by force. And in response, we should be defending young people from malicious, dishonest attacks like this. Or at the very least, refusing to take part in it. Now, J.D. Vance, to his credit, saw this hit piece for what it was. He immediately put out this response, pointing out the Democrats have embraced Jay Jones. Quote, "This is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence." Close quote. Which is a great statement. And you notice what he got? He's not playing the game in that statement. He's not doing the denunciation and then saying, yeah, but Democrats are worse. What he's saying is, no, I'm not playing the game. I'm not going to play the game. Not going to do it. I'm not going to abide by rules that you people set, but don't abide by yourselves. I'm not going to do it. The Young Republicans of Texas put out a similar statement hitting Jay Jones, and that's the only appropriate response when Democrats attempt to use our morality against us. Don't apologize. Don't fire anyone. Don't give them what they want. You don't have to be happy about the group chat. You don't have to go through one by one at each piece and defend each part of it. You don't have to do that, and you should do it. But realistically, if you want to defend against the leftist onslaught against our lives and our freedoms, what you cannot do is join in this attack. And I'm not saying that two wrongs make a right. I'm saying that we can either stick together or we can lose everything. That's the choice the leftists have created for us. They're waging a highly asymmetric war at the moment. And in every case, they're defending the most vile and overt corruption imaginable. They're defending violence. And when you're up against an opponent like that, you simply cannot abide by whatever rules of polite political discourse you think are still in effect. They're not. Political discourse is already broken down. We're at the point where every day or so we learn of a new effort by Democrats to cover for one another. In fact, before this ridiculous political story broke yesterday, my first thought was to do an opening monologue on Letitia James, the Democrats' flagrantly corrupt attorney general in New York. Here's how the New York Times is covering the fact that she's just been indicted for falsely claiming that she was using a house in Virginia as her second home. This is the Times headline. Quote, "In the eye of a political storm, a tiny yellow house in Norfolk, Virginia..."
We basically get the idea. Nobody Republicans who are from 18 to 40, average age of, late 20s, early 30s. All right, not kids, not teenagers. These are relatively young guys, freshly into politics. Nobody Republicans making milquetoast, nothing burger jokes, objectively funny, some of them. And they are acting as if that's the same thing as the Attorney General of Virginia advocating for the death of his Republican opponent. Or all the leftists, the prominent leftists, either celebrating or not condemning the death of Charlie Kirk, a prominent Republican. And then not even withdrawing their endorsements from people who are advocating for it, celebrating it, or just, not even condemning it. And so that just goes to show they support it, bro. So why are we trying to do the whole, well, we gotta be better than them, we gotta condemn both sides? No, enough of that. Just no. Misha proving why women should not be in the conservative movement, and this is why we need more people like Matt Walsh. Lastly, we have a Nick Fuentes clip, and I think he also has a good take on it. So let's just see what he has to say real quick.
He came out and said, there's a candidate running in Virginia for a statewide office who says that Republicans should die. Nobody in the RNC group chat or the YR group chat said that. And if they did, they're joking around. They're making jokes. They're being silly. They don't think anybody's watching. So we all know you code switch. I don't think that's malicious. When you're in private, you say things that are edgy. I know that's hard for people to believe. You say things that are only understood within the context of who you're with. Everybody knows that's a joke. These are young Republicans. They want to cut taxes, They're not actually unironic exterminationists, national socialists. And when you're with friends, you get comfortable. You know that they understand it as a joke. You're not airing that out on the front page of Politico. You don't intend for that to happen. And so J.D. Vance turned it around and said, look, you got some knucklehead kids. Yeah, they're in college. These are young kids joking around in a group chat. Meanwhile, you got people that are actually trying to take over the government that want conservatives to die. And conservatives are being murdered, and they like that. So I thought that was great. But I will say that another reaction came from Matt Walsh. And I replied to one of Matt Walsh's tweets. He said, after Charlie died, I said that we need to unify, and everybody basically told me no. He
I'll get this shit out the way.
said, but we don't understand that the left is trying to ruin our lives, blah, blah, blah. But I said, look, Matt, I said, and I don't know, when he said that he wanted the right to unify, I don't know if he was referring to me, and maybe he was, and maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was intending for me to be one of the people he wanted to extend the olive branch to. I'm open to that. If he texted me privately, I'd be very discreet and down low about it. I wouldn't tell anybody that he's a closeted groiper or something or whatever, a fan of the show. But I said, look, it's really hard for anybody to unify with you, Matt, because you work with Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, and Jordan Peterson. And they are all in the pocket of Israel. And we know that these people, they hate us. Like anyone that is not down with Israel, they actually hate. And like, it's not a Christian thing where it's like we love our enemies. No, like they want us dead. Just like the left wants us dead, Shapiro wants us dead, Klavan wants us dead. And think about the way they talk about us. They call us filth, garbage. Like they can barely conceal. It's like a seething contempt and hatred. And so I look at someone like Matt Walsh, and he kind of sounds like the white guy in the story with Gavin Wax, where it's like, yeah, maybe you're okay. And I think Matt Walsh's intentions are good, but who's down the hall and to the left? It's Shapiro, who ruins people's lives. It's Klavan, who would do the same. It's Jordan Peterson, who said, I'm lower than a rat. And it's like, I'm sorry, I would like to unify with you, and I'd like to think you're a good guy, but I can't actually unite with you as long as you're mobbed up with that crew, who are very similar in that way to Gavin Wax. And so it's sort of, I have the same message for Walsh, for anybody, for the Trump voters. It's we need to start taking our own side and recognizing that you just can never get too comfortable around these people, because on some level, you don't even know, is the real reason that Gavin Wax leaked the group chat, did he do that on the order of the Zionist lobby? They must know they have a groiper problem. These guys I don't know. But groipers are all over the government, and everyone knows that. There's groipers.
I mean, like, notice all the Republicans who came out to condemn this group chat. They all happen to be radical Zionists.
Harvard. There's groipers in all the Ivy League schools. I talked to all of them. There's groipers in government. There's groipers in every department, every agency. Okay? And I almost wonder if this was an operation to try to start to roll that back. You don't know. And I would suspect that I'm probably not far off the mark on that. So it's just another message that these people are not really on our side. Anyone's a delegate for the ZOA. I don't care how based they sound. I don't care if they told you they're going to be your friend forever. All roads lead to Rome. Maybe they said, oh, we're going to be friends forever. Guys, we'll be friends forever, right? All roads lead to Rome. No, actually, that's not the case, especially with them. This is what they do. And here's the last thing I'll say about it before I move on. Of course, I did a viral clip last week, I think on Friday, where I said that I want the groipers to infiltrate the system. I want them to go to highly selective schools. I want them to infiltrate the top law firms, the biggest businesses, defense contractors, the security state. And a lot of people clowned on me for that. And now people are saying, well, this is what happens when you infiltrate. I would say to that, and by that I mean they said, well, look, Nick said to infiltrate. These are the fruits of infiltration. You get exposed in group chats, et cetera. It doesn't work. I would say on that point, to build upon what I said on Friday, this is why I tell people, hide your power level, okay? You're not hiding your power level if you're in a group chat with hundreds of people saying we're going to put people in gas chambers, okay, guys? Now, I know it's funny, and I joke around like that on my show, and I'm very cavalier about it, and maybe I'm setting a bad example.
We get the idea. Let's speed this up.
But if you are in the Young Republicans, and I'm speaking to you, if you're in college Republicans, if you are in the administration, if you're in a high position,
10 minutes.
You can't be putting this in writing. You can't, I'm not going to say don't ever joke, but look, Signal, Telegram, let's put the disappearing messages timer on. Let's not put this in writing. Let's just not go there. If you're going to hide your power level, if you're going to be a ninja, you can't go blasting off in everybody's faces, pause. You can't be blasting off with all this kind of stuff in a giant group chat in writing with your real face. Okay, that's not good OPSEC. It's not a good idea. You can't do it. And you'd be surprised. I've had this talk with a lot of people. And I tell them, this is big boy stuff, okay? Time to put on the big boy pants. We got to grow out of that stuff. And I get it. It's tough. People want that release. It's difficult. When you're infiltrating the system, you have to wear a mask. And you have to assume an identity. It's a spy game. It's tough, especially for young guys. They want that release. They want to be able to be authentic, especially me. I mean, I fought a very difficult battle to be myself. But when you're doing that, it's so risky. The other thing I'll say about it, though, is that it's not the end of the road for them. For anybody that says, oh, this proves infiltration doesn't work, I would say in any war, there's battles. And in every battle, you move up and down the battlefield. And this is just what happens. It's attrition, you know. Over time, there's a swarm. All young men are getting red pilled. All young men are talking like this, okay, unless they're gay. Or, you know, even some of the gay ones are talking like, you know, according to JD Vance, there's like normal gay guys apparently that are talking like this, okay? Everyone's talking like this. Every under 30 young white man, even left-wing ones, are joking like this. Trust me. And it is just jokes. Political correctness is dead. Wokeness is over, okay? Comedy has been legalized. We have legalized comedy. We're all talking like this. Where was I going with this? I totally lost my, because of that awesome joke. Comedy got legalized. Everyone's talking like this. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And so, look, this is happening everywhere, okay? Everyone's paying attention to this. Everyone's paying attention to the conversation being changed. And every generation of Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton alum is going to graduate a good amount of groypers. And a good amount of them, no one knows who they are. I don't know them. They're not involved in anything. They're just keeping it to themselves. And eventually they're going to become very powerful. And along the way, yeah, some of them are going to get their spot blown up, and some of them are going to get canceled, and some of them are going to get fired. You know, but that is just the name of the game. And here's something. It's sort of like that survivorship bias kind of diagram. It's like, maybe that doesn't apply here. I have to think about it to really understand that. But if infiltration was useless or unnecessary, why would they be doing this? You know, why is it that some of these like left-wing journalists and others, why do you think, and this Politico guy that wrote this piece, this guy's been sniffing around that scene for a long time. Why do you think they're so up everybody's ass if infiltration didn't matter, if they weren't concerned? You know, why do you think they're panicking and mobilizing and freaking out and trying to frame the Goipers for killing Charlie Kirk? It's because they don't want to graduate a new generation of future elites who are not beholden to Israel, who are not woke, you know, whatever. It's because it works. And so just because you lose a battle, or even you get pushed back on the battlefield, it doesn't mean you give up the war. It doesn't mean you give up the fight. And I saw some people saying that. I thought that was really petty and kind of pathetic, that people use this as an opportunity to like score points. It's like, no, these guys were doing a great thing. These guys are, they're not woke, they're based, and they're doing what they're supposed to be. They're rising up in the party leadership. They're rising up in the government. The mistake that they made is that they were sloppy. They were careless, they were sloppy. And I'm assuming these are jokes. I mean, and I do just want to clarify, because it is worth saying on the record, this is just how young kids talk, okay? It is jokes. To the extent, if these guys are not joking and they're unironic, you know, they want to kill everybody, then obviously I don't support that. This is the language of Generation Z. This is the language of a generation that was told for 10 years, everything's racist, everything's whatever, and this is just how they speak.
Which is why Misha should know better.
Most of these guys are Catholic, Christian.
Because I think she's
they're just
like
patriots. They want what's best for the country.
20s.
Then they just go home and they make edgy jokes with each other because it's transgressive. It's what young people do. I mean, if that even needs to be said, it should be said for the, like I said, just on the record. But because you know, and that's why I really have an axe to grind now with Gavin Wax. This and a lot of these other things, just trust me on this, well, and it's just logical. They're going to run stuff like this up the flagpole, and they're going to use it to beat us to death on the left and on the establishment right. They're going to use stuff like this to scaremonger and fearmonger, even the show, for example. And they're going to say, Generation Z are all Nazis. This is how they talk when no one's looking. They're hiding their true evil intent, and that's why they have to be stopped at any means necessary. And no doubt, the left is radicalizing Tyler Robinson to go and kill people like this. And they're mobilizing their base to go and vote in the next election because they think Trump represents all this. And the end goal then is to pass laws to literally hurt us and destroy our lives, to throw us in jail, people like me, people like those named in the article, and then oppress everybody, you know, and like punish us with immigration and the rest of it. So, you know, for Gavin Wax to do that, you know, maybe you could get away with that 10 years ago. That kind of bullshit was very common. That's just politics. Shame on the people that were involved for being so sloppy and careless. Like, everybody does it, but you really shouldn't. It's just irresponsible because you're there on a mission. You're a spy. But really, fuck Gavin Wax. Everybody needs to like text him and say, hey, fuck you, man. If you know him, if you have his number, if you're in politics, you have an obligation to say, hey, man, fuck you, if the story's true. Because it's like you have betrayed everybody. And, you know, thanks for proving the stereotype, too, by the way. So, I mean, I will have nothing to do with anyone who's involved with him. I'm not going to hang out with somebody that leans on people and threatens litigation, allegedly. Threatening litigation to get the text messages. I'm going to tell on you to Politico because you made it funny, because you made a joke. Because I didn't win student council president and the young Republicans. Like, fuck you, dude. F you. Total dirtbag. So, you know, and maybe I'll be eating these words later if there's proof that this is not him. But I very strongly suspect that is the case, even though it's alleged.
Anybody who backstabs for political gain is a scumbag.
And I will get to the bottom of it, but if that's true, like, no quarter for traitors like that. Disgusting filth.
Chat.
No surprises either. I would not even be the slightest. I would not be surprised in the slightest if that was his doing, because that's how these people are. And by these people, I don't mean Jews. That's not a dog whistle. I mean these, like, Zionist Jewish types. They will do anything for Israel. And in particular, these, like, you gotta understand something about government. The government is filled, like, I hate to say it, I really do, but John Doyle's kind of right, that the Washington, D.C. and the Republican Party and the administration is filled to the brim with, like, stunted, arrested development losers from high school. And the second that they get a committee assignment in the GOP, the second they get a head pat from the government, they cannot wait to exaggerate their importance, cannot wait to flex their...
All right, so in conclusion, look, it's just jokes, dude. Prominent Democrats not only joke, but they're serious about it and actually enact it and then don't condemn. And so I'm done acting like it's the same thing. It's not. So I'm not going to condemn these guys. They're funny jokes, and jokes are not only meant to be said to, like, kids. All right, these guys aren't kids. These are young adult men. But why should they be excluded from making jokes? Like, that's just no. And for a conservative woman, supposedly conservative woman like Misha, to say that we should condemn this and that they should lose their jobs, it's like, how are you any different than the left? Like, why don't you just become a leftist? Other than the fact that they hate you and they would support your death too. And so we just can't have these type of people in the movement. you muddy the waters, you water down the message, and you make us look weak, and you give power to the left. And so you need to be expelled. You need to be deported from the movement. And we need more people like these young right wingers in these group chats. At least we need to have their mindset. Maybe don't say these things in public, but if these are the type of things that they're saying in group chats, these are supposed to be private group chats. Okay, so they're not the ones who are wrong. The person who is wrong is the one who leaked the group chat, and all the Republicans condemning them. And so we just can't do that. We have to affirm them, or we don't have to affirm them, but we just can't. We cannot condemn them. We either play Democrats at their own game, or just don't say anything. Period. And that's my take. I think Matt Walsh and Nick Fuentes had a good take, and I think Misha Petrov had a dog shit take.